Salam. Hey, so I made this video uh, in response to MythVision podcast's video that he released last night, June 29th, 2026. The title of his video is "This Discussion About Islam Left Everyone Divided." It's a good video. He has somebody by the name of Michael Jones from Inspiring Philosophy on. Uh, and it's a good video, honestly. I recommend just watching the whole video. It's only like 20 minutes or so. The video, to me, the reason why it's so good, not because of the info is absolutely rubbish, but it exposes and kind of gives you uh, uh, a view of what this mindset, like this type of mindset that Michael Jones is pushing, this quote unquote Islamophobia, the fear of Islam and everything that he's pushing, what it's based on. All right. So there's a couple times in the video where he actually quotes the Quran, misquotes the Quran, I'll say. And Derek Lambert obviously isn't going to give any kind of pushback, but he'll say he'll give pushback. Uh, but doesn't. It's real simple. We'll listen and I'll stop it, and then we'll go into what the Quran actually says, uh, and then maybe at the end just kind of discuss why this is so corrupt and why this is so wicked. All right, so here is the video. It's from MythVision, and the video is called "This Discussion About Islam Left Everyone Divided."
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
take us there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And the other problem is that the Quran says Muhammad is the pattern of conduct for Muslims in Surah 33:21.
All right, so Surah 33:21,
In Surah 33:21.
the pattern of conduct for Muslims in Surah 33:21. All right, so we're in 33:21. Here's what he's talking about. So just think, this guy is on. This guy's he's inspiring philosophy, right? So he's misquoting the actual text that he's talking about, talking in a way where people might assume, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. Look at the way he pulled up this thing. All right. So look at what it says. 33:21. You have had in the messenger of God a good model for him who looks to God and the last day and remembers God much. All right. So this guy literally said, this verse is telling all Muslims that Muhammad is the pattern of conduct for Muslims, right? But the beauty of the Quran, honestly, and it's an amazing, amazing thing. If you get into it, you'll understand how amazing it uh, is that it self-verifies, right? It literally does. It self-verifies when you go back. So you can literally look the word model here, right? And this I'm using Quranite.com. It's a translation by Sam Gerrans. Uh, it's probably the most in-depth translation of the Quran into English. All right, so look at what he says down here by model. It says that word occurs 3 times. At this point, the traditionalists jump in with his voluminous library of post Quranic compositions which no messenger of God saw, read, or authorized. What we know about this messenger of God is found in the Quran. All right? So it's telling you this is the point where the traditionalists are going to jump in and go, yo, this is what they're saying. Muhammad is the role model. But if you go in, that same word that's used for here, the prophet, right? The prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is also used for the prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. All right, so it says, there was for you a good model. Same word. So it's letting you know, nah, it's not what this guy is telling you. There's a model. And that model goes all the way back. You can't just, oh, this is, no. So we'll continue, right? And to be absolutely real about it, the Quran actually says the model is Abraham. The model for the reader, anyone who who reads this book and these words are revealed to, your model is Abraham, and I'll prove it to you. Right? All right. So there's 6 verses where the creed of Abraham, those words are used. All right. You can look at any of them. We'll just pull one, right? And who is better in doctrine? What is this doctrine word? Deen. Deen. Deen is the religion. All right? So it's literally telling you who is better in religion than he who submits his face to God and is a doer of good and follows the creed of Abraham, inclining to truth. This is the creed of Abraham. Abraham is the only one that God Almighty befriended. Only one. Why? And God took Abraham as a friend. All right? So let's continue. Hey, I invite, for real, I love you guys. I invite all of you to read this book. Read this book. All right, we'll continue with this, the inspiring philosopher.
In Surah 4, I believe it's verse 65, it says, you have to
465, let's go. And what does he say, 465?
submit to all of his decisions.
You have to submit to all of his decisions, 465. Four. So 4 is the women. All right. Nisa. 465. All right. So 465. What do you say? 464?
Okay, pattern of conduct for Muslims in Surah 33:21. In Surah 4, I believe it's verse 65, it says, you have to submit to all of his decisions.
465, he said. All right. But no, by thy Lord, they do not believe until they make thee judge in what arises between them. Then find in their souls no distress in what thou decidest, and submit fully. So this guy is literally saying that this verse is telling all Muslims to submit to the decisions of the Prophet. All right? Okay. The beautiful thing is, let's go one verse before it, right? And we sent any messenger only that he be obeyed by the leave of God. And had they, when they wronged their souls, come to thee and asked forgiveness of God, and the messenger had asked forgiveness for them, they would have found God accepting of repentance and merciful. But no, by thy Lord they do not believe, until they make thee judge in what arises between them. Then find in their souls no distress at what thou decidest, and submit fully. All right? These are the people that don't have judgment. And be obeyed by the leave of God. Honestly, just a fair assessment. Where do you see?
Quran says Muhammad is the pattern of conduct for Muslims in Surah 33:21. In Surah 4, I believe it's verse 65, it says you have to submit to all of his decisions. Got it.
You have to submit to all of his decisions. Where do you see that in this verse? That you have to submit to all of his decisions. And this dude, the greed stains your soul.
Okay, so this is not just a time-bound thing. According to what the Quran, and this is why Salafi Muslims, the more that they get into the Quran and what it teaches, they gravitate towards this idea that child marriage is okay even today. Because if Muhammad is their pattern of conduct, he's their excellent moral example. They have to say everything he did was moral and good. Therefore, it's okay for them to also marry 9-year-olds because the Quran does not explicitly outlaw it. But then it gets even worse because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls. It gets even worse because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls. But then it gets even worse because Surah 65:4 grants permission.
Surah 65:4. All right. And for this, honestly, this Michael Jones, 65:4. The divorce. The name of this chapter in the book that oppresses women is titled Divorce. Oh my God. All right. So here it is, man. This is it. I'm going to take a quick second just to expound on this right here. This verse is the verse 65:4. All right. This is the verse that every single quote unquote person, individual that's against or promotes or stresses the ill conduct, right? The ill conduct of what this guy is saying right here. All right? We're going to look and I'm going to show you, Lord willing, that this dude and everybody that pushes this line, this dude, this guy, Michael Jones, is from a long line of people. He's just the now of them. All right? But I'm going to show you something. He's here for a reason. He's here for a reason. All right? So let's go.
For men to sleep with prepubescent girls.
Think about this.
I think it's even worse because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls. It's even worse because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls. It talks about a waiting period between when a woman is divorced before when she can be remarried. And if she hasn't menstruated yet, you have to wait 3 months.
Which tells you that they're not They're prepubescent.
And all the Sunni commentators agree. It's including girls who've not menstruated yet.
Okay.
So even Muhammad Ajab, when he's at Speaker's Corner, is going, if you just looked at the Quran, you'd assume you can have sex with 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look at the actual book, the words, right? So let's go into it. Let's see what he says, and then we'll read.
Yet.
Okay.
So even between when a woman is divorced before when she can be remarried. And if she hasn't menstruated yet, not explicitly outlawed. But then it gets even worse, because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls.
Grants permission for men to sleep with I can't Toba. I can't even say it, but listen, all right? So, here's what it says. And for such of your women, all right? Remember, the word is women. And that's the only word that's in there that's describing who it's talking about. So let's read, right? And for such of your women as despair of menstruation, if you doubt, their waiting period is 3 months, as well as for those who have not menstruated. All right? And for those who are bearing, their waiting period is until they lay down their burden. So these are pregnant, right? This one hasn't menstruated yet, but you want a divorce, you should wait 3 months so she's not pregnant, right? This one is despair of menstruation. Wait 3 months, right? As well as for those who have not menstruated. And for those who are bearing, wait until. So this is what he's talking about. Right here. It's all about women. It's not about little girls. It's not about what this sick.
He talks about awaiting, because Surah 65:4 grants permission for men to sleep with prepubescent girls.
Think about that. That's what he got out of this verse. So what is this meant right here? Okay, let's see what Sam Garin says. Right? Often said by traditionalists on the basis of his library of dubious fiction to mean female children who have not started menstruation. That's what the traditionalists say, right? Those who claim that the mood is perfect under the influence of Lam, who have not yet menstruated, right? I would point out that the relative pronoun and the verb are in the feminine plural and refer to, in fact, can only refer to women. Nisa. In the preceding clause, the Quran speaks of women as legally competent females who can own property, take oaths, bear witness, swear, and incur punishments for crimes. Minors can do none of those things. Cases of women not menstruating while not pregnant are not unusual. And it is this which is being referenced here. So, all of these people, that perspective, all of their scholars comes from this line right here, who have not menstruated. Women. Well, God knows. It's just I just invite all of you, whoever, dig in there dig in there, because that's what these guys are doing. His digging and his slander and stuff only brings out the beauty of these words. Yes, you're going to have some ignorant people that are going to run with this, but it's not about the masses, because the path to God is it's not the wide one, it's the narrow one.
Yet.
Okay.
So even Muhammad Ajab, when he's at Speaker's Corner, is going, if you just looked at the Quran, you'd assume you can have sex with 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
But don't worry, guys. We have a much milder form of pedophilia where you can only have sex with a 9-year-old because of the Hadith. That's what we're dealing with here.
Okay, that's radical and extreme, and I'm sure not all Muslims, many of the ones online.
The more westernized they are, the less they're going to agree with that.
Okay,
the more
good.
Islamicized they are, the more they're going to agree with that, unfortunately.
Wouldn't you agree, though? That's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes, I want more Muslims.
Listen, I want to say something. It's not about being westernized. It's about reading the book and actually understanding. Sam Gerrans, who translated this, isn't even a Muslim. He just translated. He dug in and found the truth. This is all of, I'm telling you, you look up every single instance or professor or some learned man that's talking about what this numbnut is talking about. This is what they hinge their entire argument on. This right here. Without understanding.
To be westernized, they'll disagree with that. But the more they get into their sources and believe they're from Allah and from the Prophet, they have to agree it's okay to have sex with a 9-year-old.
Right.
That's terrifying. And again, this wasn't common in the ancient world. It seems as although the average was late teens, early 20s, according to the people I cited. And the reason why is simple. They could have learned through trial and error that when you expect a girl that's like 14 or 15 to have a kid, they're more likely to die because their hips are not fully widened yet.
Right.
That doesn't actually happen for a girl till the ages of 15 to 17. That's why.
Was he doing what was maybe in some circles understood down little? Yeah. So we're planning on doing an episode to get into his girl. She was left behind in the caravan, and then to mitigate this rumor. And how do they do it? They put her as young as humanly possible, to the lowest age they could get her, to keep her intact, to keep her flower from being broken. But Muhammad was the one. And I still said to myself at the end of the day, I go, okay, even if that's the case, that this is fictive, they invented this historiography onto her. People are following this still. People are still believing this is the case. So maybe if all Muslims started to question it, cool. But there's a lot not.
Well, first of all, great. I'm happy for Muslims to go down the road of Joshua Little. The problem is he has to conclude the Hadith are just completely unreliable. We cannot trust them. It's too far from the source, so we got to throw out the Sunnah.
Ooh, this is beautiful right here. This is, honestly, this is the beauty of the Quran, all right? Because look, they're talking about Hadith. I don't know if you know what Hadith is, but Hadiths are, quote-unquote sayings of the Prophet. These are not the Quran. These are hundreds and hundreds of, like thousands of books that are non-Quran. They have nothing to do with the Quran. Honestly, they have nothing to do with the Quran. They're external sources, and that's what they're talking about. This is why you got to understand how powerful the Quran is, all right? Hadith actually means narration, right? So that's what it is. Like here, you have hadith, narration, it's hadith, right? It means story, account, narrative, narration. That's what hadith means. Here it is right here. Hadith. See it? Hadith. All right, so what does it say about hadith? There's 6 times that this word is used. Let's see how it's used. What does God talk? Okay, so God says the word hadith, all right, in the Quran. Have they not considered the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and what things God has created, and that it may be that their term has drawn nigh? And in what narration, what hadith after this will they believe? So what is it? So the Quran is calling itself a hadith, right? All right, so we'll keep going. Oh, here it is again. Al Hadith. And among men is he who purchases the diversion of narration of Al Hadith to lead astray from the path of God without knowledge, and take it in mockery. Those have a humiliating punishment. Hmm. Oh, look again. Al Hadith. God has sent down the best Al Hadith, a writ of paired comparison, whereat shiver the skin of those who fear their Lord. It's telling you, when you have these scientists and stuff that read it and actually like go, oh my gosh, this is different, because they understand things. People like these young fellas, they don't understand it, so they're going to mock it and mess around with it. But back to Hadith, the Quran calls itself Hadith. Have you ever heard an Arab, a quote-unquote Muslim, go around holding a science book or a history book and calling it the Quran? No. Mm-mm. Right? Those are the proofs of God. We recite them to thee in truth. Then in what hadith, this is hadith, after God and his proofs, ayahs, these are the verses. Again, it's telling you in what hadith after God and his proofs will they believe. So this is for after the revelation. It's asking what, you can ask your Arab friends this. And this guy, he's doing his job because he's pointing this out. And he has to. That's his duty. It's out of, despise and hate for Islam and all that, but he's refining and he's purifying. Muhammad Hijab and all these other dudes, they can't do anything about this because it's in here. It's preserved. It's preserved. And it's preserved for what reason? To destroy any fake path. You have to be Arab to believe in God. You have to do this and do. No, that's not what the Prophet said. The Prophet, three of his companions were non-Arabs. So 3 of the first 7 people that were with the Prophet, making 8, were non-Arabs. It's not about being Arab. Look at it. And it plainly says, then in what hadith, narration, after it, the Quran, will they believe? It's real simple, but they can't. Muhammad Hijab and all of them, they can't leave it. Why can't they leave it here? He's going to tell you why.
That's what Sunnis are not willing to do. That's
They're
the problem
not
there.
willing.
On the road of Joshua Little, the problem is he has to conclude the hadith are just completely unreliable. We cannot trust them. It's too far from the source, so we got to throw out the sunnah. That's
All right. So here's the sunnah that the traditionalists won't give up. All right.
That's the problem there, because it's too far. The problem is he has to conclude the hadith are just completely unreliable. We cannot trust them. It's too far from the source, so we got to throw out the sunnah. That's what
the sunnah of the Prophet is what he is referring to. All right. Sunnah al-Nabi. That's what he's taught. This is what the majority of the Sunni and Shiite division and all that stuff, it comes from the Sunnah of the Prophet. All right. But remember, in the Quran, there is no way. There is no Sunnah of the Prophet. It exclusively refers to the Sunnah of Allah, the way of God. All right? Or the Sunnah of the ancients. Sunnah of God is different. That's what the Prophet was on. That's what Abraham was on. That's what Jesus and Moses, and peace be upon all of those beautiful names. That's what they were on. And many others that weren't named. I think Xenophanes was one of them. Or he might have been named different. But lots of them.
Sunnis are not willing to do. That's the problem there. Because to get rid of the hadith that talk about her age, because we have over 200 hadith that mention her at 9.
Look, 200 hadith that mention her age. Whose age? Somebody who's not even in the Quran. The Quran doesn't even mention that individual. But there's 200 hadiths. Look, all right? In the Quran, it goes as far as saying, and the messenger, all right, will say, this is in the future, oh my Lord, my people. This word people is qawmi. These are his people took this Quran as a thing abandoned. And when you do that, when you do this, you have this dude smacking you around.
Over 200. Okay? If you can't,
You have this idiot smacking you around.
we got to throw out the sunnah. That's what Sunnis are not willing to do. That's the problem there. Because to get rid of the hadith that talk about her age, because we have over 200 hadith that mention her at 9. Over 200. Okay? If you can't trust that, you can't really trust anything in the Sunnah, because it's using the same methodology of the hadith science, not really a science, but they say it is. They use the same methodology of the hadith science, so you got to throw out the entire hadith. That still doesn't fix the problem, because now you have the Quran by itself. You have Surah 65:4 that I mentioned. What if
So again, 65:4, the platform that he's sitting on, the not menstruated, right? That's what he's sitting on. 65:4. 65:4. This is the hill. And it's talking about women. It's talking about divorce. Like, wow.
Muhammad Ajab say? If you just look at the Quran, you'd assume it's okay to have sex with 5-year-olds. The hadith gives them a milder form of pedophilia. Okay? So
think about that. This guy literally is still saying the hadith gives him a milder form of pedophilia because the Quran is, yeah.
in their world, it makes it better. So if you just have the Quran, you have Surah 65:4, and you can have sex with any girl.
That's it. 65:4. That's his whole boat. Everything in one basket right here. Here's his basket. And this guy is inspiring philosophy on MythVision.
Even if they're not menstruated yet. So it doesn't fix the problem, and it destroys their Sunnah collection, their hadith collection, what they don't want to do.
Okay, this is the real question, because we keep talking about a thing that many Muslims are defending, like you just pointed out. How have you done any study, like current contemporary studies, of how common this underage marriage in Islamic countries is right now, as far as this is practiced, and if so, like how bad is it?
The research I found it's most common in Islamic countries, Hindu, so in India as well, and many traditional African societies. Basically anywhere that's not Christian Western, basically, because Christian Westerners were the ones going around ending these practices and still are.
All right. So, we got to do some research and try to figure out what the deal is, because this guy is talking about the Western world and all this beautiful stuff, right? All right. So it says, while there is no definitive single all-time record due to poorly kept records or unindexed 18th and 19th century records, historical research indicates that the youngest girls legally married in the United States were 9 and 10 years old. All right. So we're talking about 1400 years ago versus what, 19th century, 18th and 19th century historical records. Let's see. In his comprehensive historical record, American Child Bride, historian Nicholas Sirit documented cases of girls as young as 9 years old being legally married to much older men during the 19th century. Oh, man. All right, the legal loopholes. Under English common law, which heavily influenced the early American law, the default minimum age of consent for marriage was 12 years old for girls and 14 for boys. Oh, so they were marrying boys off too. However, exceptions or lack of explicit enforcement in rural, impoverished, or notable cases. In the late 1800s, 11-year-old Francesca Carboni, modern 2000 to present. Even in recent history, legal loopholes regarding parental consent and judicial bypass have permitted young children to marry 10-year-old brides. Data compiled by the advocacy group Unchained at Last and investigative reports from PBS Frontlines revealed that 3 10-year-old girls were legally married in Tennessee in 2001. All right? So 12 years old in 2015, 13. Man, none of this stuff is right. It's all sick. But don't go around
The push is coming out of Christianity. It's a Christian tradition to give rights to children, protect them from sexual abuse. So yeah, this is very much this tradition, but outside of that, it was very prevalent, even in the Far East. So, but it is common in Muslim countries. I think Iraq just lowered the age of marriage for Shia down to like 9 and 15 for Sunnis. You'll see it in Afghanistan. You'll see it in Pakistan. You'll see it in Northern Africa. So yeah, it's not everyone. Like it's not like 50% of like Saudi Arabia is engaging in child marriage because it's just not practical. Even, but it is happening at higher levels. But it's not practical because most of those girls are going to die. There was a study done in Latin America that showed that it was like it's like 4 times more likely to die in childbirth for a girl that's 15 and under. So I mean, like you don't want to keep killing all these girls. So it's just not practical. But they still have it in higher amounts.
So that ticked you off. You saw it. It lit a fire.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, David Wood's been doing this for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now. I mean, when I was a Christian, I remember watching him, and I could see him. And
David Woods. That's the other individual. David Woods. This is literally his box right here. This same thing. But because the traditionalists are trapped by their own sunnah, by their own hands, what they've created and written and said, this is from God, and that's all written in the Quran and Sharif. They can't get out of it.
Sam Shimon, when they used to be cool, do call-ins and debates with Muslims and stuff. And
so I learned a lot from them about Islam. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. So then you decided, all right, I'm gonna start doing this. You did a debate. I watched the one you did with the Hikikachu, which was really like,
that's the child marriage one.
You caught him in this really interesting gotcha moment where you mentioned a rare case where some 1-year-olds actually go through puberty. It's a very
precocious puberty.
Yeah. And that he pretty much granted that if the father agrees, then and that's it. And it's like, that's all because of the religion. The religion, the cultural background and religion of what Hikikachu is defending.
Pretty much, yeah. That's terrifying. That's evil. So when you realize that, how evil Islam is and what it's going to grant, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's other issues like, again, killing apostates, allowing cousin marriage, which will destroy the IQ of a society, the amount of violence that comes out of the Islamic world, the oppression it causes to women.
Blah, 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 blah.
The removal of rights. You start to...
Removal of rights.
You're going to start to realize this is something we need to make sure never takes over the West. And the best thing that can happen to humanity is if Islam crawls back into its hole like a snake between 2 mosques, to quote a Hadith of Muhammad.
Isn't that beautiful how he's quoting Hadiths? He's quoting Hadiths. And among men is he who purchases the diversion of narration of hadiths to lead astray from the path of God without knowledge. What's the path of God? Remember, this is the creed of Abraham, inclining to truth.
Okay, how do you navigate this, right? We've heard a lot of the sensitivities people carry in the world. We want to be nice and kind and loving. We don't want to hate people, right? We want to love people. How do you navigate the murky waters of Islamophobia, and actual being critical of a religion and the practices that you call evil or bad or things that just are not practical and are clearly not good for society.
A healthy fear of Islam is good, is what I want to say. But that doesn't mean we
Healthy fear of Islam. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? He obviously, he, what does that mean? Healthy fear of Islam. This is supposed to be inspiring philosophy.
hate Muslims. We don't hate Muslims. We love Muslims. In fact, David Wood
We love Muslims. We just like them better when they're Christians.
makes a great point. Ex-Muslims tend to make really good Christians because they're ostracized by their family, their community, their history, and they do it all for Christ.
Man, listen. Okay. But that was the gist of the video, man. Read. I invite all of you guys to read, man. Read and dig. Don't be like the messenger's people. Don't throw this book behind your back and abandon it. Seriously. Salam.